The CDC is calling tonight for universal use of face masks. The new guidelines urge people to wear masks anytime they are indoors apart from their homes. This move comes as cases soar across the country, with Georgia setting a new record today. The agency has been gradually strengthening its recommendations, with this latest announcement coming just hours after President-elect Biden said he will ask Americans on his inauguration day for a commitment to wear masks for 100 days. Here's why the surge in cases is so concerning. Today, Georgia reported nearly 5,000 new cases. We have not seen numbers this high since our last peak in July, and they're only expected to grow as more people are tested after gathering with friends and family for Thanksgiving. Hospitalizations are up too. Today, we had more than 2,300 people actively seeking medical care. That's still less than our peak in April, where we had more than 3,900 active patients in a single day. There is some hope, though. Today, Vice President Mike Pence met with researchers at the CDC, where he said the U.S. could start vaccinating people in as little as 10 days. 11 Alive's Doug Richards has more.
CDC officials told Vice President Pence they expect to start distributing a COVID vaccine in the next few days.
We could be shipping within the first 24 hours.
Pence said he expects FDA approval mid-December and inoculations to begin 48 hours later. First at long-term care facilities and nursing homes. Pence may have gotten an eyeful of some of the protesters who gathered outside the gates of the CDC, blaming the administration for driving up death rates by emphasizing the need to preserve the country's economy in an election year pandemic. During a roundtable at the CDC headquarters, officials told the vice president that the use of vaccines will immediately drive down the communicability of the COVID virus.
It's about 40% of all deaths are linked to long-term care residents. Right. So by vaccinating those, we're going to see a decrease in deaths.
Obviously, getting the nursing home residents vaccinated in December, when they make up such a significant point of hospitalizations, we'll start to see that impact, in late January.
At the same time, they stressed that social distancing, masks, and other health precautions will need to continue into the spring before the pandemic is past, saying that it will be months before most Americans can get vaccinated. Former CDC workers tell us that spirits are up at the CDC, mostly because of the last election. And they say that the CDC needs to replenish the positions of workers who have left, mostly over the last year, over what they see as the Trump administration's de-emphasis on science.